Welcome to the Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, why they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. You can find us on YouTube. Just search my name, Linda Maria Frank, or The Writer's Dream. We have about 125, maybe a little bit more than that, interviews with authors. So if you're interested in how authors go about writing a book, or you're looking for some good books, this is a very interesting site to visit. We're also on Facebook. Also, the page is called The Writer's Dream. If you want to be on the show or you have a question for me, please contact me through the messaging service through the Facebook page, and I will get back to you. So today's guest is Frank Vetro, and Frank Vetro has he's had a very interesting life experience. He is an educator, and he works with Hope House Ministries, and he has written a book called Standing on Principle, and the principal is the guy with the PAL at the end.
That's right.
Okay, so Frank, tell us about your story, because it's really a fascinating one.
Thanks, Lynn, and thanks for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, back in 2006, I didn't set out to write a book. I never planned on writing a book.
Either.
Oh, you did it?
No.
I didn't plan on it. Back in 2006, I was a principal in Hampton Bays, middle school and high school principal, young, was about 32 years old.
That is young for principal.
Yeah, I was quite ambitious, and I worked hard, not because I'm so smart or anything. I really tried hard. I really cared. Became a principal. I was doing real good in life, and I enjoyed what I was doing. I was helping a lot of people. I really didn't take anything for granted. Unfortunately, some of the choices you make in life, they never really go away, and they come back to haunt you. And before I became a principal, I was a science teacher, biology and chemistry, over at Newfield High School.
That's my field too.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And, I was a single guy, and I was involved with some women and stuff like that, and I made some poor choices personally. And unfortunately, they came back to haunt me. And in 2006, when I was leaving my building to take my mom to dinner on her birthday, I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit. And that day, February 8, 2006, began a downward spiral in my life from being on top of the world and to just a free fall that never seemed to end. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I turned for help, it came up empty. I was thrown in Riverhead Jail. The green jumpsuit, I was labeled a terrorist. I was on all the news channels.
Where did this charge come from?
There was an ex of mine.
Ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend who I taught with. Not the same subject, but same building. And basically, when I left to go to Hampton Bays, I didn't want to commit to her. Like, I just left. I moved on in my life, and that was it. And sometimes...
She was vindictive.
Yeah, and for 4 years, I was set up. My identity was stolen, and this is all proven in court documents. Also, I wouldn't say it. Stole my identity, set up email accounts, my name, in my home without me knowing about it, possession of my cell phone without me knowing about it. Really took 4 years of an elaborate setup. And
who did this girl know?
It turns out she did know.
Evidently.
The arresting police officer, but I didn't learn that until really about 2 years ago, and we're talking about years already. So I didn't know until 9 years later that she did know him, and
he had people who could do this.
Yeah. So what happened was, and what I'm about to tell you now, again, it was a 3-year prosecution. It ended in 2009, where I wound up living in my car. I lost everything, Linda. I lost everything, and the more letters I wrote, thousands to politicians, just people, offices, different offices, you name it, always slipped through the cracks. Nobody could help me. Wound up in my car, lost everything. And I just want to say that my family didn't know that. I have a great family, and I didn't tell them. Sometimes pride is a weakness. I could have made my life a little easier, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I know my mom she'd be on the street before she let me be on the street, and I didn't want that to happen. So I made life a little tougher than it should have been. But nonetheless, I was in my car and jobless because of the stigma surrounding, as an educator, what was said about me. When I was arrested, they called me a terrorist. They said I was a predator, like I was harassing students, things that were just fabricated. And I really never knew where it all came from. I just knew that for 4 years I could not get a job anywhere.
No, of course not.
Anywhere.
Of
I
course
mean,
not.
at some point, I remember, I still see the application in my hand. I put in to be the guy, at 3 in the morning who throws the newspaper on your driveway. But because of my career, solid, student teaching, teacher, all the way up to principal, young principal. And then when there's that 4 year, there was that gap, it's a red flag.
They want to know why.
Yeah, I wasn't just jumping from job to job. I was a career educator, and they all said the same thing. What happened to you? You were doing so good. It was just a red flag, and I couldn't get a job, and I could not get hired to do anything.
Now, how did the 3 years of court litigation, how did you finally clear your name?
Well, what happened was 3 years we're going through the nightmare of a prosecution. They won't turn over evidence. They wouldn't.
That's illegal, though.
Yeah, you would think that it's not allowed, and there are rules
Yes.
to prevent that. Everybody thinks that,
What is
speedy
it?
trial.
Disclosure. It
Yeah.
has to be complete disclosure of evidence.
Yes,
For both sides.
Especially what's called Brady material. That's material that may help exculpate you, prove your innocence. It doesn't have to, but it may help. I mean, they have to turn that over, and that wasn't done. Again, I didn't find out till after the fact. So I'm trying
Did
to
you hire a lawyer?
I did have an attorney who. I'll just be nice. I should have had another attorney. How about that? $100,000 later, I ran out of money.
You might have done better with a public defender.
Yeah, $100,000 later.
Oh, boy.
Over misdemeanors, which most people thought were felonies because of what they made about on the news and calling me a terrorist and all these things. Most people thought I was accused of felonies when it was a misdemeanor. Not that that's good either, but it was a
Still in
misdemeanor.
all.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference. So $100,000 later, I'm still trying to push for trial, but I don't have any money. So my attorneys wrote me a letter. They're bailing out on me. I don't have any more money. I'm in my car, lost everything. And the DA's office, knowing this, said I had 8 misdemeanors against me. So it's 8 years in jail, maximum. And they said, listen, why don't you just take a plea to violation. Clean record, clean fingerprint, a violation. And 6 months going back and forth to court, numerous times, they're expecting me to take the plea. And they think I'm crazy not to, but I knew I was innocent.
You did not want to go to jail.
And I said,
That's all you needed.
but I still pushed for that trial. I said, I'm doing it anyway. I know I'm innocent. I want them on the witness stand. And finally, my mother, it was February now, March 2009, with tears in her eyes, said, listen, it's a violation. It's only a violation. I couldn't even pay the $250 fine. It's only a violation. I'll pay it.
What were these, traffic tickets or?
I was accused of harassment.
Yeah,
Harassment.
that came across loud and clear in the
Yeah.
television reports.
Yeah, I was accused of harassment, harassing women. Okay, women I
Could
was
they
involved
produce any of these people?
with. They, just statements. Just statements. So I did plead it a violation, and I had an agreement to go back to work once the state education, because an investigation ensued at the state education department, which I understood. You're arrested, you never know what may play out, they don't know, so they
Right.
investigated. 3-year investigation, I was fully cleared by state ed, ready to go back to work, cut my losses, just move on in life. I didn't want to take that plea, but I had nothing left, so violation, okay, I have a clean fingerprint record, and I didn't go back to work. Not Hampton Bays, but the superintendent turned her back on me, and reneged on the agreement to come back, and I sunk further. That's when this really unfolds, and I decided to write the book, because when I was arrested, I kept a journal. This date this date this.
You have to.
And my book is written in journal format. And that's what makes it very precise. March 7, 2007, this happened, times and dates. And I said to myself, my life can't end this way. I have nothing. And there's nothing in sight, no end in sight. So I started becoming my own private investigator and my own attorney. And I started going through the court files. And the more I discovered, they didn't turn over. And that's when I started to learn they knew that she was the real criminal, the woman I was involved with. She admitted in a sworn statement 2 months before I was arrested what she did. But because she knew the police officer, like we alluded to before, instead of her being arrested, he arrested me to protect her. That's a fact. It's all proven in court documents. That's why I don't mind saying it. I don't mind writing it in the book. The book was released 3 years ago now, and no lawsuits. They can't sue me. It's all true. And it's not vindictive anyway. I'm not a vengeful guy. It's just a matter of fact. Look, this.
So is there any recourse to go back to court to, like, or sue her, or
Yeah.
civil suit, or?
Yeah, I have an attorney now, and we're trying to, after everything that was that was discovered, and things continue. It's a massive scandal. Things that continue to be discovered. The police officer destroyed evidence. He admitted to the judge he destroyed evidence.
This is a great story for Newsday.
Yeah, he admitted in a sworn affidavit that he destroyed evidence that helped me in my case. I mean, it just totally submarined me. And I like to say, my story melds 2 stories, actually 3. Remember the Duke lacrosse scandal? If you're familiar with the Duke lacrosse scandal from years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It melds that with a crooked DA, and with the Penn State scandal. It melds both those stories because what I was accused of was what she did, and there was anything with students that was her, but protecting her they put it all on me.
Any of those students ever come forward?
Yes.
And they were hiding that evidence? They had those statements then?
Well, they knew. But after I started to discover things, students came forward. Like, wait a second, we can't have this. And, it turned out she did it to another man before me. Yeah, it just unfolded like you wouldn't believe. It's a massive scandal. And I want to make it clear that I don't want to paint any picture with a broad brush. Police officers are good. We need police officers. And
yeah.
I'm pro-police.
But you wouldn't have stories like this if there weren't a few who did
right,
the wrong
and prosecutors are good. We know they
Yeah.
uphold the law. We need them, and they're good. There's a small percentage of every profession, bad authors, bad cab drivers, teachers, that put a blemish on the rest of them. And I ran into that small sample, and I tried to bring it out. And so anyway, my life didn't start to turn around for the better, and I stayed positive the whole way. It wasn't easy. It's cold it's cold in New York when you're in your car.
Yeah.
But I went to see a man who I knew. His brother actually worked in Hampton Bays as a teacher, and his name was Father Frank Pizzarelli, just to talk. Wasn't expecting anything. I was just so down. I just wanted to talk to somebody. And I knew it would be confidential. He's a priest, and he couldn't believe what happened. Well, he heard about what happened to me, but he couldn't believe what it come to, and he offered me a job. And now it's weird how life comes full circle. I'm a principal for a private school, and like he put it to me, he says, Frank, you're gonna be you're a great administrator, you're a great person. After what you've been through, you'll be even better now.
Well, he's right.
Yeah,
It put you on that path in a place where I bet you're happier now.
Yeah, it's a very rewarding job, and I work with kids who have been arrested, kicked out of school, and they need a break in life. I'm not justifying what they do, but sometimes, when you're 14, 15, there's a reason kids act a certain way. They're behind the 8 ball from day one, some of them. And I work with them, and he says, think about it, Frank. They were arrested and kicked out of school. Sound familiar? What happened to you, maybe? And really, it's exactly what happened to me. I went from being Mr. Everything to being kicked out of public school. And,
but so many of these kids are the victims of their home life, their poor choices, like you, and also the system, which doesn't help them. But
yeah,
I mean, the whole thing that's going on now with the Department of Justice, where they want to obliterate what Obama put in to really investigate the racial disparity between blacks and whites going to jail and have a better system for these juvenile offenders and people with, minor drug convictions and whatnot. They want to upend that whole thing. That's just going to create more problems for us.
Yeah, the criminalization of minor offenses, we have to do away with that. And, where I work, what we do, we're therapeutic. It's not really a punishment. It's what we're helping them deal with it, and we're treating families too. We're treating the kid, and we're treating the families. So sometimes the families are so broken.
Sure.
So we work with both of them, so that when the kids leave us, because they reside with us, when they leave us, the families know how to deal with situations because maybe they're not equipped to.
Well, this is the answer, really.
Yeah.
Because it is a societal problem. They talk about. I just talking with a friend the other day, and then we were talking about why is it so bad in Chicago? Why do they have so many murders? Why do you have these kids with guns killing? And I said, because the state of Illinois is bankrupt.
Yeah.
And the schools don't get the money. The schools don't have the programs. And in these very poor neighborhoods, that's where the kids get all of their structure, all of their discipline, and a way out, a possible way out. And that's not happening for them. So what are they doing?
You're right. You're 100% right. And I have to tell you, I've spoken to, because I speak with a lot of politicians in Long Island and educators, superintendents. I deal with all the public schools in Suffolk County. So I talk to a lot of superintendents, and which is funny because, it's weird how life comes full circle. I was kind of like blackballed unofficially, and now I work with all the schools and the criminal court system of all things. So I kind of, turned full circle life, right? Long Island, if we're not careful, we're headed to that same route. We're gonna go the way of Chicago,
The whole country.
Detroit. We're gonna implode. It's happening. The gangs, the drugs, the broken families.
There's a bad drug problem on Long Island.
Yeah. Oh, it's.
And gang problem.
Yeah, and I
they go
work
together.
with the kids. Yeah, that's what I deal with. I work with gang members every 7 days a week. This morning I spoke with gang members, the drug addicts, and it's a major problem. It's a major problem, and I'm thankful that they come to us and that the courts believe in what we do. And I have to tell you, they come to me with no credits. They can't pass a test. They're not even in school. And when they get to us, they take readers exams, and I tell you, they pass. They pass state exams, and the state. I'm going to blow my cover right now, Linda, because the state, they think we're so great. Everybody thinks, well, you guys must be on the cutting edge. And I say, yeah, we do all these. We're so dynamic. There's no secret. They reside with us. So these kids are with people who care.
Yes.
They have a warm bed. They're fed. They don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from. They're not on drugs, alcohol. They're not with the rogue elements or with their gang or perhaps even their family, which is very broken and a bad influence on them. So, and they have time to study and actually do something with people who are going to help them. And what happens? There's no magic there. When a kid has a clear head and people who believe in him or her, they will succeed. That's why you never give up on kids.
Yeah, well, you give up on kids, you give up on the entire society.
That's right.
Now, did you cover all that in your book?
I did. At the end, I did a talk in Brooklyn, Red Hook, not too long ago, and as I'm speaking before people, I've been giving Father Frank credit for saving my life. It's a pretty powerful statement. So I did maybe a 10-second pause in front of the crowd, and that's a long time, 10 seconds of silence. And it was like, what's going on? And I said, I just wanted to make sure that what I was going to say is correct. And it is. Father Frank saved my life.
Yeah.
Nobody else was helping me out, that's
Yeah.
for sure. And when the world turned their back on me, he came closer. No doubt, he did save my life. And I do cover all of that. And, besides that, I became an advocate for others who go through the system because I had no voice. Nobody wanted to help me out. So because I learned, I'm not an attorney, I don't claim to be, I can't give legal advice or anything like that, but when people are jammed up, especially when they have no money, it's just hard to fight. So I kind of guide them and I give them a voice. And even if they're, not for nothing, even if they're guilty of something, I don't know, everybody's still entitled to due process and
That's
proper representation. So you just help guide them, fill out paperwork, like just do this, and the chips fall where they may, but you have a right to properly defend yourself at the very least. So I kind of guide people and help them be the guide and voice that I never had.
See, so you went from the principal of high school, middle school, high school on Long Island, probably dealing with a lot of academic issues, and the social issues are all there and whatnot. And because of this life experience, you're ending up helping the kids, maybe 10% of the kids who comprise the population of your middle school and high school, and you're really helping them. And when you're helping them, you're helping the entire school system. So
yeah, it's rewarding. It's a great job. Love it. I can't say I don't love it. I love being there. When I'm not supposed to be there, I'm still there. I go check in on them. I like to check in on them because they appreciate it. I tell you a story. What happened in the winter? Snowstorm. I went into work, and again they lived there. So I see one kid, and he's shoveling the driveway, and he can. Most people would think he's a menacing kid, you know, rough looking, and I would say, unfortunately, if somebody saw him walking down the street, they'd probably walk on the other side of the street. Big kid, and it's something else when he doesn't trust. He's lost trust in the world, like.
Well.
And when he drops the shovel, and he runs over and he picks him up and says, "Mr. V, I missed you." You can't put a price on that.
No.
You cannot put a price on that, and I'd lay on the track for him.
You may have changed his life for him.
Yeah.
You may have.
Yeah, and they
You never
move
can
on.
tell.
You know, nothing's foolproof. You know, it doesn't work 100% of the time. But
If you get old enough, you'll find out
Yeah.
whether or not, you know, because that's what happens. Yeah. So how did you publish?
Well, at first, at least, I self-published. My first